Hello and welcome to the show. This week we're with a bloke who says he's never really left the sandpit. Meet the irrepressible Geoff Shuker. Like many in agribusiness, Geoff grew up on a farm and even as a kid had a passion for machinery.
So we were lucky enough on the farm to have a big workshop, so that's where I spent most of my time in there, pulling things to bits and every now and again getting some of the things back together again. Not always. So that was my real passion, was mechanicking, I guess. When it came to that time of hitting the real world, I started hunting around and see if I can get an apprenticeship. Came to Pukekohe and basically hit the feet and started knocking on doors, and managed to pick up an apprenticeship at the local John Deere dealer. So that was a big, real big opportunity for me.
So you became a tractor mechanic?
I guess as a mechanic, it was pretty hard yards. It's a tough job. And seeing all these salesmen drive around in new utes and look like they're living the dream was something that I thought that'll be pretty cool. So I thought I'd give it a crack, and that was the lure. Was probably the lifestyle more than the job. But once I got into it and felt that doing deals and meeting a lot of people and getting into a lot of different industries and looking around was something that I really enjoyed. And that's become my life,
And Geoff even spent his OE working for a tractor company, John Deere, in England. When he returned to New Zealand, he was headhunted by Geoff Maber of the Power Farming Group.
I joined up with him as the North Island rep for Massey Ferguson, Sami and Izuki, so I was servicing the dealers throughout the North Island for the Power Farming Group, and that was really educational for me. That was a big turning point in my life as far as learning about how people deal with people. So you'd go to one dealership and you'd see this guy was really great at this, and so his clients would all buy this. And you go to the next dealership and this guy did this part really great and he'd do all this. And worked out that a lot of the time people weren't actually doing business with people because of the product. It was people doing business with people. So, and learnt, the good guys did really well and the bad guys just didn't perform. And so that was a big eye-opener. Did that for about 18 months, 2 years, and as a young fella running around the country, that was pretty good. But it comes with a toll, packing up every Sunday night and doing the hard yards. So decided that, probably moving back to settling myself down in an area, it was time to the old time clock was ticking away and it was time to settle down a bit. So that's when I came back and settled in Puke.
Geoff Maber became business mentor as well as boss.
One of Geoff's great strengths is he's a great number man. He's a great marketer, but more so he's a fantastic number man. He knows and understands the back end of the business, and he uses that to make his decisions going forward. So he's always looking at ratios and percentages of what where the opportunities are. So he steers his ship from the back end. And so one of the great parts about being involved with him was that I was able to piggyback up on that.
Geoff Maber encouraged this keen young businessman and offered Geoff a partnership in the tractor centre based in Pukekohe.
Yeah, that's a big change, and there's a lot of things that you don't see when you're not a business owner. So those responsibilities and I guess stresses and strains come on board. But having good systems in place and coming, I didn't really see that then, but I see it now. How much of an advantage that was, having those coming into a business with such strong back end systems.
And tell me a bit more about what the business was like then.
Okay, so when we started then, we were turning over about $3 million. Had sort of 4 guys in the workshop. The smallest player in town by quite a considerable amount, and it just ticked away. It was a nice little tidy business and a good platform to start from, really.
By now, Geoff had a pretty good overview of the tractor sales business and bought his old mentor out. He started seeing other commercial opportunities.
There's a few reasons why I diversified. The tractor industry is particularly tough. You know, it's linked to farming. Farming's tough. You know, we have the ups and downs and the ins and outs that farmers do. So, you know, our problem is that when it gets tough, we're generally pretty geared up overhead-wise, and it's quite hard to adjust quickly. Well, you can, but then when it's going good, you can't get anyone to work for you again. So you've got to ride that, and that's particularly hard in this industry. So diversification, I guess, came from two reasons. One is, you know, financially, you know, when something else is, when it's down, it would be nice to have something else that was up. And I guess the other thing is my nature is that I'm, you know, pretty inquisitive and want to have a crack, I guess. From our early days, we're turning over 3 million. Within sort of a 4-year period, we were sort of getting up towards 18 to 20 million. And the staff had grown from sort of 8 to 10, suddenly we had 50. So, you know, it was just a case of having to grow with that. So the opportunity came to invest in a property just outside Pukekohe, where we built a new big facility, and that was pretty exciting and good, and you know, been the cornerstone of what we've done, you know, going forward.
The 3-acre site quickly grew to 10, with some leased as leverage, and Geoff continued to diversify and invest in new ventures and partnerships. Ag Attachments was an obvious company to incorporate into Geoff's portfolio, followed by Turf and Irrigation Contracting, Field Turf New Zealand Limited, and most recently, Turf Farms. So what's happening here, Geoff?
Okay, so this is the start of a new part of our turf farm. Basically, we've done the preliminary groundwork, and it's all sprayed out, ready to have our couch planted. We go through a lot of couch with our sports field construction, and it's good up here, it's pretty frost free, and it's all self-draining, so it's an ideal spot for it. And so the next thing now is we'll be starting to plant that, and then in about 12 to 18 months time we can start harvesting.
So why do you use couch?
It's a pretty trendy product at the moment, and the reason being is it's just so tough. So with the amount of sports games being played on one field through our New Zealand winters, the field's just got to be tough, otherwise they cut up. Where my role is in the game is that I look after the back end and the big picture stuff, and really the day-to-day, that's why I've brought those, you know, work with these other guys as business partners, so they've got some skin in the game, so they're going for it, but they probably haven't got quite the same experience, and I'm able to bring that to the party, and also with our back end skills that we've sort of, I guess, perfected over a long time, we've put that in there as well, and that just means the ship's running along, running nice and straight, and they can then operate from there. So the growing the grass and the digging the holes and all that sort of business is their game, but you know, making sure they got the kit and it's all well funded and where we're going and what's our next goal and all the rest of it, that sort of comes more from my side of it.
Geoff Shuker is like an express train, but his plans are always backed up with thorough systems, especially accountancy. We'll hear more about both of those later in the show. But coming up next, what do our experts think? This week, we hear from David Irving, founder of the Ice House. I asked him why he thought Geoff was so successful.
He's a very capable person, but the trick or the skill that he's shown is the ability to take a capability he's got in one business, which is starting off with his tractor sales business, and then leverage that. And he's leveraged it into turf, new turf, artificial surfaces, which on the face of it is unrelated, yet the tractor equipment is a major gear utiliser for the turf business. Now that's one thing. He's also, of course, leveraged in the tractors themselves with attachments and all the add-ons for tractors. Instead of making it a one-off sale, it's a frequent sale that he gets through, and so a connection stays with the customer. The turf business is, in many ways, the most interesting one to identify, because He's able now to still have his tractor business, still have his mind all over that. He's got this turf business over here with someone he trusts to run it and to grow it. And he can do that, he can repeat that in another application that might have tractors as it mightn't look like centre stage to it, but it will be for his. So it's a bubbling of opportunity that he can take advantage of because of his, as I said, his focus, but his ability to learn how to delegate and set these things up properly.
And to look for opportunities?
Well, he clearly is of a mind to grow. He's not a man, you can see it, can't you? He's not going to be sitting idly. He's always thinking, I imagine, of what the next opportunity is. But you know, that is what an entrepreneur is. But what an entrepreneur often isn't is one who thinks about how to set this up as a sustainable business with the right organisation and responsibilities. That's the part that is the real difference that he's shown.
So David, the tractor sales business is typically difficult in that it's very low margins. How do you think Geoff's combated that?
Well, I can imagine for a start that the tractor business is low margin. Anything that, you know, has the look of a commodity is one on which competitive advantage is absent other than your ability to sell. So you're in a low margin game, and what Geoff has shown is that he just doesn't like what he does. He's a businessman at what he does. And so he's thought about, how can I use my capabilities in other areas where there are better margins than the margin I'm getting out of this tractor commodity business? And he's found his way into the turf business, which I imagine has got better margins because probably there are less competitors competing for that business. It would have its own skills and capabilities that you'd need to perform with. He, as we've said before, he's got a partner that he knows is able at it. And so he would overlook that business, making sure the margins are being earned that he's expecting. He's gone into the attachments business, which again has probably got some premiums attached to it, probably got better margins. I'll guarantee it has if he's gone into it. Not as much a commodity now because you're being able to provide more than just the basic tractor. And I gather he's in property, so that's a bit different type of asset. It's one in which you've got to have a mind for property and an ability to sell them as well as buy them, a portfolio of them, but they're good assets. A bank likes them. So he's, on the face of what he's got a portfolio based at the centre around a tractor business, as you say, with a low margins, but he's added on these different businesses which have got the capability of having quite better margins in them, and all praise to him.
So he's not only diversifying, he's leveraging and finding some scalability.
Yes, he is getting scale because he's scaling up the tractor business with opportunities for selling the tractors into and when you build relationships, price starts to be a little less important. So people see you doing this, they know that you're very able with your tractors, they've seen you service them, they know the reliability that you're providing. And as businessmen get bigger in their responsibilities and size of their businesses, then they start to need close partners in business with them, people they can turn to and trust. So they don't look to people, they're not always looking for the lowest price, they're looking for the best performance.
David, in your mind, what do you think the qualities of an entrepreneur are?
It's a really good question, and it's not necessarily an easy question to answer, but they are special. When you see one in play, you know that's what they are. So that in my world, I've seen people that we might call an entrepreneur, and then on the other hand, people I might call an owner-manager. Now they convey quite different senses of those individuals. One, on the face of it, is far more exciting. They take risks, they're into opportunity, they're always in a hurry, they never delegate, they're rushed and exciting, and that modus operandi works for them. Now, as their businesses get bigger and they're successful at what they've done, they need to then retain the capabilities that I've just expressed, but to those capabilities add the capabilities of now what I'd call management. And those management type skills are setting priorities, delegation, accountability, those sort of words, management of time, all of those things which are quite boring terms compared to the descriptions that I gave of an entrepreneur. But they are, those latter ones of management, they are the capabilities of a good manager. So as an entrepreneur grows, he or she needs to take on these management capabilities as well. And the words we use to describe what this all means when you add the two of them together is a sort of disciplined entrepreneurship. That's what you're finally looking for. You don't lose the entrepreneurial bit, but you add to it the management capability.
Geoff Shuker runs the Tractor Centre in Pukekohe and has several other businesses in his portfolio. I asked him how his farm background had helped.
Yeah, I guess being brought up on a dairy farm, by dairy farmers, you learn it's a tough life. They work hard, and at times there's not a lot of money around, and so dairy farmers are always looking for ways to save money. They're looking how they can operate better. So I guess having that installed to me from day one has been a major advantage. At times you're doing a lot of crystal ball gazing. You're trying to pick up trends. Some of the things, we've got some basic principles, and one of them is quality. So some of the stuff may already be produced here in New Zealand, but we find that the metals and the steels and some of the procedures that are done here are done a lot better overseas. So that's one of the areas that we look at, but also efficiencies, how things can be, we can bring some overseas technology to here to get the job done more efficiently. One thing with Kiwis is that they love to be cutting edge. We find, particularly with the age of the internet, the world's a very small place, and Kiwis are right up to speed with what is the latest and greatest. We have, if it's out in Europe, it's not too far away from here, and our end users are very cutting edge.
Geoff and his team travel to international trade fairs to source the latest.
Agritechnica is one that's based in just out of Hanover in Germany, and it's probably one of the better. It's a biannual show, and it's absolutely just mind-blowing if you're a tractor man. It's about 25 halls that are the size of 2 rugby fields, all indoors, and it is just mind-blowing.
But it's not always about big and shiny.
The Tractor Centre is, I guess, probably not really your normal agricultural outlet. And the reason for that is there is a couple. One of them is that we're in Auckland, and it's or on the outskirts of Auckland, so it's a very diverse market. It's not like your Taranakis or your Manawatu's or whatever. It's very diverse. So we've got a lot of developers, a lot of lifestylers, we've got a lot of growers, all sorts of different things. So because of that, that creates opportunities. And so we try and cater for those. So we just do things a little bit differently here, in the fact that we have quite a large hire fleet. We find that we can pick up windows of opportunity from different businesses, and so that works very well. Some of their needs are only very short, but sharp, so we can get in there with a hire machine, get in and out, and then we pick up some work somewhere else. So that works really well. So we have a big hire side, which is pretty unusual for an ag business. And then also we're very big on used. There's a big used market up here, and we've really targeted that. At times, some of our new franchises haven't been as strong as some of the others. So to help us with income and opportunity, we've specialised in used. And because of that, we've put a big reconditioning plant in. So we run our own paint shops and bake ovens, and we have our own sandblasting areas and all that sort of stuff. So, which is a bit unusual, I guess, for an ag company. So in here's our engineering department, and really the reason we've got this is that at times the customers are demanding that we get kit finished and back to harvest or whatever, and there's a lot of pressure around that, and at times it takes maybe 2 weeks to get parts out of Europe, so we end up making them to get the job done, get the gear back on the road. So that's really why we've sort of invested so heavily in this department. This is our bake oven. Basically how that works is they'll spray something, and they spray it about 30 degrees, and then when they're finished, they go out, hit bake, and it raises the temperature to 60 degrees, and it bakes it on. So the good part about it is really efficient. So normally you'd have to wait half a day, half an hour, it's all dry and done. And also because it bakes it on, the paint job's so much better.
Looking ahead, what do you think is going to be the next big thing?
I think New Zealand has got some challenges ahead. I think we're well placed as far as a country, as far as clean and green, and we produce stuff that a lot of the world wants to get hold of. I think as some of our leaders talk about, we can feed 150 million people or whatever the figure is, and we need to find the richest 150, and we need to piggyback on the clean green thing. And I think the clean green thing is our challenge. I think effluent and everything that goes around that going forward is going to be massive. I think the reward's there, and the reward will drive it. I think there's some opportunity around that.
Do you ever think that's enough? I'm just going to ease back on the throttle a bit now and cruise?
I guess I'm not really here to try and build a great big mountain of businesses. What drives me is the excitement and the fun, and while I'm having fun and we're making $1 along the way, and everyone else is having fun along the way, that's probably going to be, there'll be more. I think my view is if you're in, you're in, and if you're out, you're out. Probably when I'm out. But at the moment, we're in, so may as well have some fun.
Thinking forward is only one part of the job as far as Geoff's concerned. Watch this space.